Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking the time today.
Hi, Tessa. We spoke before last year, right?
Yes, we
Year before,
did.
just last year.
I think the year before. I think this is the third one. So good
Okay,
to see you
cool.
again.
I see you got a new chair.
Yes, I did. It's very comfy. And it even like will massage if you plug it in. It's very cool.
Wow,
I know it's
that is cool.
fancy. Well, thank you for the time. My family and I loved this film. I mean, we love all the Wimpy Kid
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
But I'd love to know what inspired this story, the cabin fever story.
So, we just decided it was time to tell a holiday story. We did the school story and the brother story, and it felt like a good time to tell a whole family story, especially because these movies come out in December and it kind of hits the sweet spot right now. So it was a fun movie to put together. It's a different kind of Wimpy Kid story, and it was a good challenge for us.
And now I gotta know, Elfriendo is very much like Elf on the Shelf, but he is so creepy looking. I've got to know like how you felt about the design when you first saw him come to animated life.
I loved it. I thought the animators did a really good job. And it's funny because I can't tell if it's scary. Like I can't tell if a 3 or 5 year old kid is going to be scarred by this or if they're going to think it's cute. I don't know. I think we got it right, but we'll find out when kids go to therapy in like 20 years.
I think it's in the sweet spot. I think it's like the eye, the cracked, like rubbed off line on the eye that's like the creepy part.
Do you think it was alive or not? Or do
I,
you have an opinion?
I feel like, I mean, it moves quite a bit, and I'm like, it could be in
Yeah,
his imagination, but like I saw with
right,
my own eyes he was there, and then he
right,
was here.
right.
So I feel like he's alive. That's my
Okay,
opinion.
okay.
But speaking of holidays, I love that this is a holiday centric film. But I'd love to know for you, what are your holiday traditions, favorite holiday traditions?
I used to get that Sears catalog every year. I don't know if that was a part of your life, but we would get this big, thick Sears catalog, and then we'd go through it. The back third of it was all toys, things that a kid could just dream about. In fact, I think they literally called it the wish book. And it was,
Oh,
and you'd circle the things that you want and make sure that your parents know that you've circled those things. So it was that was a big part of my tradition growing up.
I love it. I love that this is really about tradition because, like, as a parent, I do the same thing that the mom does. I'm like, okay, these were my traditions, kids. So, like,
Right.
I force them on them. They have to be your traditions too.
You
Um,
have like favorite food or something like that that you eat on Christmas or beforehand?
yeah, well, there's a cornbread stuffing that my mom always made. So now I make it for my
Cool.
family. And it's just like, I feel like it's not Christmas if we don't eat it. You know what I mean?
Wow, cool. Okay, good to know that one.
Do you have something that you eat every year?
I don't think I do actually. There's I no, I don't think that. I wish I had a snappy answer to that one, but I don't think we have a food tradition.
Well, I'd love to know too, like, so what are any holiday hijinks you got up to as a kid? Because I mean, this one's pretty not great that he destroys a tow truck
Right.
or a snowplow.
We did something like that. My friend and I, just like Greg and Rowley, we decided to build the world's biggest snowman, and we started to roll up this snowball. And we found it didn't take long before we couldn't move it very well. And then when we were able to move it, we were tearing up the grass, the sod, really. And so we had this giant like snowball that now looked like a meatball and a torn up lawn, and I'm sure we tried to patch up the bare spots on the ground. And so that's where that idea came from. And we lived on a hill, so that thing could have rolled down the hill, and that would have been the end of a snowplow if it hit it.
I thought that part was so funny. I love the like drawings of them. It kind of reminded me of like Home Alone, the Home Alone guys, the drawings of
Yeah,
Greg and on the wanted posters. But I thought that part was so fun.
yeah.
What was it like trying to imagine them as like, because everyone thinks they're like these older, either at least high schoolers or like really bad people. What was that kind of like imagining them like that?
It was fun. I think in my books they were even like half shaven or something. It, it's fun to because that's how it goes when you remember somebody that did a bad thing, you remember them in this really bad way where they're sort of evil looking. So it fit the bill for this movie.
Awesome. And then so my daughters are 10 and 12. And so when we watched this, at the end, not like spoilery, but I mean the book's been out. So when
Yeah.
when Greg, kind of decides what he's gonna do with his gift, I mean, we all love that as parents. My husband and I were like, this is the best idea. But they were even like, oh, I'm so glad he did that.
Right.
So yeah, I'd love to know, do you feel like maybe you're inspiring kids to do the right thing around the holidays?
I've always tried to avoid having my books be messagey or too trickly, and I think that it was the right thing to do for this story. A Christmas story really has to have heart, or it's not going to feel like a Christmas story. It's going to feel like Christmas without cornbread stuffing, unfortunately. But I'm glad that your daughters responded well to it, because that's what we were going for, that surprise at the end. I hope we didn't telegraph the ending too much.
No, it was funny because they didn't figure it out at all. But when he was having the conversation with her, and she was like, oh, my
Yeah.
son wants one of those too, I was like, oh, is he gonna do it? I hope he does it. Because like he's not I don't want to say he's not the best kid, because I love Greg. I do, but like he thinks of himself a lot sometimes.
Yeah, and he does throughout the movie. He's very self-interested. It's true, and so was I as a kid, and I think a lot of us act that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that's a uncommon thing, especially around the holidays.
That's true. Yes.
But I do love touching on the fact that around the holidays you got to be good, because what is the line that he put? He said something about like, well, I thought it was just between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Had to be good.
Mom says, have you been good this year? And Greg's like, this year? He's like, I thought it was more of a Thanksgiving to Christmas kind of thing. Which is really fun that you write that on the page, and I get to write these movies, and but it takes the actors to deliver the lines and make it really come to life, and it's really rewarding when it comes out the right way.
Yeah, what is it like adapting your books into the film? Are there certain things you like feel sad that maybe you have to cut out, or?
No, I've sort of learned that the language of a film is really different than the language in a book. In my books, plot isn't that important to me. It's humor is a priority, and in a story like this for film, you really need to tell an emotionally resonant story. So I've just accepted that they're very different things, and I don't even try to be too faithful to my books, because there's no real point to it. You won't end up with a very good movie if you're too faithful to the book.
Well, I'll say too, like my kids read all the books, so they kind of love going in and getting a different vibe and a different feel. It's not like, oh, I've already read this. This is the exact same thing. They switch things up. So I think it's very well appreciated by the fans as well.
Well, I'm glad, because sometimes when you're a kid, that's like your first feeling of betrayal in a way, is when you love a book and then you see the movie and they change something like the ending. That can really sting. So I'm glad that your daughters responded well to that.
Yeah, they love it. And then final question before we wrap, I'd love to know, what do you think it is about Wimpy Kid that makes kids love them so much? Because I'll tell you, my kids, they talk to their friends. Did you get the new one? And they hype up the next one's coming out. They love it.
Oh, that's cool. I think it's I hope that the humor is good. I hope that it's a quality humorous book. Boy, my language isn't coming to me today, but I think that's the number one thing, is if they live and die on their humor, and if they're not funny, then kids won't read them. So that's my job, to make them as funny as I can in the time that I have.
Awesome. Well, you do a great job. And I got to say, I pick them up every once in a while and read them too. So I think they're fun for all ages. So
good bathroom reading, right?
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time, Jeff.